Welcome to our regular scheduled Monday, June meeting for the City Council. It is my pleasure to recognize Reverend Peter Hay from the Wesleyan United Methodist Church. You all join me. Stand, please.
I thought I'd tell you a quick story. That's what preachers do. I had reason to recall this of late. There was this person who was a beachcomber walking along the beach, and as he walked along, he or she would reach down and pick up a sand dollar and would throw the sand dollar back into the ocean. Some people were just a little curious as to why the person would waste their time doing that. The sand dollar was probably already dead and would probably just get washed back up at the next tide. When asked, the beachcomber responded by saying, well, that's all probably true, but maybe, just maybe it's not dead. And just maybe, if it can be thrown far enough, just beyond the crest of the forming waves, then just maybe it'll live. And the way the person said, just maybe, kind of sparked my imagination. It wasn't the phony, triumphal hope that gives people of my profession a rather bad name, but it was a sincere belief that something good just might come of our efforts. So that's my prayer for you this night as you gather and do your work, and that is our prayer for our community and our home and for our land. So may that be a bit of inspiration as you go about your good work this night. Thanks for having me, and work well. Amen.
Amen. You join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll be seated. Madam Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Councilor Bouchard. Here. Mayor Buick.
Here.
Councilor Champlin.
Here.
Councilor Cohen.
He is excused.
Councilor Grady Sexton. Here. Councilor Hirschlag.
Here.
Councilor Keach.
Here.
Councilor Kennison.
Here.
Councilor Kretovic. Here. Councilor Mattson.
Here.
Councilor Nyan.
Present.
Councilor St. Hilaire. Here. Councilor Shurtleff.
Here.
Councilor Todd.
Here.
And Councilor Werner.
Here.
Good to see everybody this evening. We have minutes from May 4th, 2018. City Council minutes in front of us.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of May 14th. Is there any discussion? Saying none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We have the minutes of May 24th, 2018 in front of us.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve those minutes. Is there any discussion? Saying none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. That takes us to our consent agenda. Two notes before we take a motion that item 20 has been removed by Councilor Hirschlag. And item 15, if you look, you'll see that it says the activities are on October 9th. That actually should be September 9th. So with that, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Motion made second is to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Madam Clerk, that takes us to our public hearings this evening. Item 22A, please.
It's a resolution appropriating the sum of up to $1,150,000 and authorizing the issuance of bonds and notes in the amount of up to $1,150,000 for construction of a new multi-purpose recreational building at White Park, CIP number 51.
Thank you. Mr. Manager.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, since this project's conception, it's always been envisioned the project would be financed through a public-private partnership with the Black Ice Pond Hockey Association and others as necessary. Specifically, it's been envisioned that half of the actual total cost of the fit-up would be supported by donations. Towards this end, the Black Ice Hockey Association has raised and donated approximately $108,755 to the city for this project. The attached $1,150,000 appropriation resolution provides funding for the entire cost of the project. This guarantees that the funding needed for the project will be in place, hence allowing me to issue a notice to proceed to the construction manager. However, because half the project cost will be funded through donations, the Finance Department may not issue the bond immediately. Issuance of said notice to proceed would likely occur immediately following tonight's meeting. This juncture, the Parks and Recreation Department projects the annual operating cost of the facility will be approximately $32,880. Annual revenues will be approximately $30,500. Should the funds be appropriated this evening, construction will begin mid-July. Estimated the project will be completed in January of 2019. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Who has questions? Councilor Hirschlag.
Thank you, Your Honor. I noticed, as you mentioned, I guess it's to the manager, that there is no mention in the resolution that, other than a reference to the CIP number, that that funding will come from a private source or the fundraising source. And so I'm wondering what, if construction is going to start this summer and the funding is not forthcoming, or how is the rest of the the private donation going to be made, or will the city be making up that difference?
Sure. There's two pieces to that. The first piece, as I mentioned, there's $108,000 in private donations already in city hands to cover a portion of that expense. And depending on how you were to finance, particularly if you were to do it through a bond, you'd have several years' worth of payments to be able to make out of that amount. And tonight, there's a contingent here of folks that the mayor put together as a committee to do the fundraising, whose job it is tonight is to convince the city council that it'd be advisable to move forward with the project and that they're capable of raising the funds.
Just a quick follow-up, if I may. Am I correct in assuming that the bond's for 20 years? So what would that, over the 20-year period, approximately what would the yearly payments be on that bond?
I would ask Mr. LeBrun to come forward.
On a 20-year bond of $1,150,000 at 3%, the first year payment would probably be about $90,000+.
Okay. Thank you. So there's about just a little more than 1 year's worth of.
Because we would be paying half, right?
That's right.
So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's that third grade math again. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on this item. Anyone wish to testify? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And it takes us to, actually, before we go, I will just say, as the manager mentioned, we have several people who are with us in the audience tonight who will be contacting you all, to encouraging you to support the project and to give. So I know Councilor Keach will be opening his wallet really big.
They always do.
But anyway, I just want to say thank you. There have already been 2 meetings with the group, and it is probably one of the most well-organized groups I've ever been associated with. So it's a full steam ahead, and hopefully we'll see something in the paper tomorrow, and we'll move from there. So with that, Madam Clerk, item 22B.
It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title 4, Zoning Code, Chapter 28, Zoning Ordinance, Article 28-6, Sign Regulations.
Mr. Manager.
Now, members of the council, the recommendation is to amend the zoning ordinance to reduce the distance of sign projection permitted into the right-of-way to 5 feet, reduce the square footage permitted for projecting signs to 12 square feet, and to allow internal illumination of signs in the Central Business Performance District when the sign background is opaque, darker color than the message on the sign. Following a meeting of the planning staff, the Architectural Design Review Committee made recommendations to the planning board with regard to the internally illuminated signs and the signs that project into the right-of-way on Main Street. The board requested that the staff draft an ordinance amendment to implement the recommendations. You have that ordinance before you this evening.
Anyone have questions for the manager? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to testify on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And Madam Clerk, item 22C, please.
It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title 2, Traffic Code, Chapter 19, Penalties, Section 1-5, Towing Vehicles Away.
Mr. Manager.
Madam members of the council, the parking committee voted to recommend the city council approved the attached ordinance.
Is there any questions for the manager? Seeing none, we will open the public hearing. Anyone wish to testify? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 22D, please.
A discretionary preservation easement renewal request for property located at 174 Little Pond Road per RSA 79D.
Mr. Manager.
Madam members of the council, this is as the city clerk mentioned, this is a renewal request. The Heritage Commission and the Director of Real Estate Assessments met with Ms. Hawk on April 5th, 2018 to review her application. Supporting documents, the reasons for the discretionary easement should be granted. All the information you have in front of you. If the council grants discretionary preservation easement exemption for 2018, the property assessment would be reduced from $403,350 to $353,550, reduction of $49,800, and the reduction in taxes of $1,406.35.
Much. Any questions for the manager? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to testify on this item? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 2E, please.
A resolution providing authorization to subdivide a 1-acre portion of city-owned land identified as Tax Map 101, Block 2, Lot 10, and conveyed to Margaret L. Lassonde in exchange for 21.6 acres of land identified as Tax Map 100, Block 2, Lot 19, for conservation purposes.
Mr. Manager.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask Ms. Vestamarker, the Assistant City Planner, to come forward. Did you want to bring Jim, or?
Either now or he can come up during public.
Okay. And he's with the commission. Might as well.
Good evening and welcome.
You all know Jim Hours, and you know Beth.
So this is a request coming through the Conservation Commission. The Lassonde property that's located in the Fiskill vicinity, which is adjacent to Wynant Park. This would connect Wynant Park with other open space properties down to Walker State Forest and Little Pond Road. The Conservation Commission has spoken with the Lassondes in the past, and most recently they came up with a solution to not actually sell the property, but do a land swap in exchange for a portion of the water department land. It's the Pennacook Water Reservoir property, and there's about a 1-acre portion that's currently unused and not developed. We met with the water department. They have no use or no plans for expanding on that portion of the property. So we've come up with an agreement with the Lassondes that the addition of that property, they'll give them frontage on Columbus Avenue. Within that district, 100-foot frontage is required to subdivide. It's actually going to be a 95-foot frontage. They didn't want to give enough frontage for them to be able to subdivide and sell off that property. The purpose of the frontage is to provide Mrs. Lassonde with a driveway that's under 1,000 feet. Right now, she comes off of Pennacook Street and has about a 1,000-foot driveway. So this will reduce her driveway, and it'll be safer for emergency purposes as well. And can have Jim Hours from the Conservation Commission give a little more.
This has been a piece of property that it's only 21 acres, but it actually is between Wynant Park and some property that you authorized us to buy in 2004. And I think you have in the resolution, so this actually starts to adjoin those two properties. So you'll have a way of access actually from Concord Hospital actually up to Little Road on either hiking trails, mountain biking trails. And we're in negotiations with one more property owner, which will complete the whole path all the way through. So this has been a priority for us for a number of years, and the Lassondes have agreed to this, and we're very pleased that they have. And I think the values of the two properties, although not appraised, are roughly comparable, because the lot that or the land that we are giving the Lassonde family cannot be built on, and they're giving us 21 acres in return. And we recently had an appraisal done of the lot next to theirs, and based on that appraisal, I would estimate a value of the land we're picking up at about $30,000 to $35,000. So it looks like a real win-win situation all around for us.
That's good. Anybody have any questions? Good. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
This time we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to testify on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 22F, please.
It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title I, General Code, Chapter 2, Finance, Article 2-4, Payment of Debts Due to the City.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, members of the council, you can see this is really a housekeeping ordinance, changing some of the titles for an ordinance that hasn't been updated really since 1982. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to testify on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Item 22G, please.
It's a resolution repurposing the sum of $369,986 from the Water Treatment Plant Improvements Project, CIP number 88, and the Pump Station Improvements Project, CIP number 372, for use on the CO2 tank and control replacement subproject, CIP 88.
Mr. Manager.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, the water treatment plant folks have been working on replacing the carbon dioxide system, which is an integral part of the corrosion control program for the city water supply. The initial planning estimate for the tank's replacement was $135,000. Through the design and tank inspection process, it was identified that the tank controls and the instrumentation were beyond their life expectancy and it also in need of replacement. The process is also identified as being the only treatment process that has no redundancy in the system. General Services has been working on identifying and correcting vulnerable areas of treatment process to ensure safe, continuous, reliable drinking water supply to the community. Since the plant has only 1 day of reserve supply available, it's very possible the corrosion system could not be returned to service within that time, causing water production to be impacted. The temporary suspension of the corrosion control process while it is being repaired would require regulatory approval from the Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. Through process change and excellent bidding prices on prior year projects, the water treatment plant has identified sufficient funds that can be repurposed and not negatively impact the current capital improvement program. Repurposing the request will allow the project to be completed with no impact to the current funding and provide redundancy for the corrosion control process.
Any questions for the manager? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to testify? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 22H, please.
A resolution repurposing the sum of $52,000 from Fire Department CIP subprojects for the purpose of installing a radio fire alarm box system, CIP 561.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Your Honor, members of the council, the radio fire alarm boxes provide greater enhanced functionality, are compliant with national codes, require less maintenance, and offer considerable savings to the end user. For example, I purchased an installation price of $1,200 to $1,700 versus $3,000 to $7,000 for a mechanical box. The new system will also reduce costs for the city. Infrastructure maintenance costs for fire alarm cable will be reduced, and circuit outages will no longer interrupt service and require callbacks on overtime. Annual master box testing, which is often done in overtime if there are other projects, will be eliminated. Glad to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, all right. We'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to testify? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 22I, please.
It's a resolution accepting and appropriating the sum of $12,500 from the trustees of the Protestant Episcopal Church of New Hampshire.
Mr. Manager.
Madam members of the council, recommend the city council approve the attached resolution allocating the funds to be used to provide fuel assistance to those in need in the community. Any unspent funds will be used to provide other forms of assistance to those in need as determined by the city's Human Services Department.
Any questions to the manager? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 22J, please.
A resolution readopting the Beneflex plan and authorizing the city manager to execute Beneflex plan documents.
Mr. Manager.
Nothing to add, Your Honor.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to testify? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Takes us to our action phase. Madam Clerk, item 23, please.
A resolution appropriating the sum of up to $1,150,000 and authorizing the issuance of bonds and notes in the amount of up to $1,150,000 for construction of a new multi-purpose recreational building at White Park, CIP 51.
Move approval. Second. Motion made and seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, ready for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Having received the necessary two-thirds, the motion is adopted. Item 24, please.
An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title 4 Zoning Code, Chapter 28 Zoning Ordinance, Article 28-6 Sign Regulations.
Is there a motion? Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All All opposed? And the ayes have it. Motion's adopted. Item 25, please.
An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title II, Traffic Code, Chapter 19, Penalties, Section 1-5, Towing Away Vehicles.
Is there a motion? Move approval. Motion made, seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, ready for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Motion's adopted. Item 26, please.
A discretionary preservation easement renewal request for property located at 174 Little Pond Road.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 27, please.
It's a resolution providing authorization to subdivide a 1-acre portion of city-owned land, tax map 101, block 2, lot 10, and convey to Margaret Lassonde in exchange for 21.6 acres of land, tax map 100, block 2, lot 19, for conservation purposes.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, ready for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 28, please.
An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title I, General Code, Chapter 2, Finance, Article 2-4, Payment of Debts due the city.
Is there a motion?
Approval?
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 29, please.
A resolution repurposing the sum of $369,986 from the Water Treatment Plant Improvements Project, CIP 88, and the Pump Station Improvements Project, CIP 372, for use on the CO2 tank and control replacement sub-project, CIP 88.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve this project, this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Madam Clerk, item 30, please.
It's a resolution repurposing the sum of $52,000 from Fire Department CIP sub-projects for the purpose of installing a radio fire alarm box system, CIP 561.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, ready for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Have received necessary two-thirds. The motion is approved. Item 31, please.
A resolution accepting and appropriating the sum of $12,500 from the trustees of the Protestant Episcopal Church of New Hampshire.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Have received the necessary two-thirds. The motion is adopted. Item 32, please.
Is a resolution readopting the Beneflex plan and authorizing the city manager to execute Beneflex plan documents.
Move approval.
Motion made, seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Takes us to our unfinished business. Anybody like to remove either capital comments or the renewable energy? Mr. Manager,
Can I actually remove something from it?
you can ask us to do it.
Can I ask you to remove item number 33
Sure.
for consideration?
Somebody like to move that for consideration?
I move to remove.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to remove item 33 from the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion adopted, removed from the table. Mr. Manager, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, sir. Based on the questions that came forward at the last city council meeting, a supplemental report has been put together. I'll just briefly touch on that. As part of the conversion of portions of the Capitol Commons building into a boutique hotel, the owner is seeking permission to construct a canopy over the Main Street right-of-way. The proposed canopy approximately 34 feet long and extend approximately 12 feet over the right-of-way. The property owner appeared at the April 10, 2018 Architectural Design Review Committee meeting. Committee members had no objection to the overall design of the canopy and unanimously recommended approval. The application was on the April 18, 2018 Planning Board agenda. The application was approved as submitted by consent. Staff notes that the awning and the canopies are items addressed in the Main Street Design Guide. The applicant's proposal is consistent with the draft recommendations of the Main Street Guide for awnings and canopies. In summary, staff has no objection to the current proposal with respect to the recommendations or with respect to review and approval process of the Architectural Design Review Committee. The Planning Board, I recommend you grant the approval.
Thank you. Any discussion or a motion? Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Manager, applicant was previously denied one of these canopies, but they have the opportunity to come back and ask for it again in front of the planning board or the zoning board, whatever board is appropriate for that.
If they were denied, but in this case, it came to the city council for the license. Council had,
He's talking about another project.
oh, another project.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yes, of course.
Ms. Shank, you okay with this? Okay. Any further discussion? Councilor Hirschlag?
Thank you, Your Honor. Last one, we tabled this item. I'm wondering what's changed, why,
So I can tell you, I asked for it to be tabled.
Yeah.
Because I was concerned that there was another project that was denied. We were going through the process. I've since then met with the city folks. We have the design guidelines, which I think generally are consistent with everything that's being proposed. And I'm comfortable that everyone's going to be treated exactly the same.
thank you.
And I think the Mayor Pro Tem's, that question was an appropriate one, that if there was somebody who was denied previously, that there is an avenue for them to come back, and they would fall under these guidelines. Anything else? Seeing none, ready for the question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Anybody like to have any comments, requests?
I have
Councilor
a
Slade?
quick question about 34. We suggested that last month if this would be coming back to us. Could somebody, is it appropriate to ask where we are in the process with 34?
Be glad to help you with that. So one of the things that I had talked about, and we had talked about as a group, was making sure that we had as many folks on board as we possibly could to bring us back something that everyone we could fully endorse. And I think that there have been, I'll say, many meetings which have occurred between a whole bunch of different types of parties that are interested in this. And it will also, is on the agenda for the Fiscal Policy Committee. And I think that people are working in good faith and making tremendous progress. And I think we're much closer to having an item which we all probably will be able to, I can't predict, but I would imagine that would be something we'd all wholeheartedly endorse.
Thank
So
you.
there's a lot of things, I guess.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Sure. What?
Thursday, June 21st, there'll be a ribbon cutting for the Citywide Community Center at 6:30 p.m. And then there'll be tours of the new Citywide Community Center at 6:30 p.m. That's Thursday, June 21st. Exciting.
Excellent. Thursday. Okay. Anything else? Mr. Manager, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay, we have 2 suspense items. Can I get a motion to take these items,
So moved.
suspend the rules to take up the suspense items? Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, first suspense item.
It's listed as a referral to Parks and Recreation and the Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee. It's a communication from Concord Little League requesting their lease with the city be amended to include the use of Dillon Field.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the suspense item, requesting their lease.
I have a question.
Discussion, Council Land.
So is the motion to refer this to RPAC or just approve the lease, or I'm confused to what the motion is?
Refer to Parks and Recreation and the Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee.
I would hope that we would also ask legal counsel to take a look at the lease agreement as well. Thank you.
Anybody opposed to amending it to send this to our solicitor as well?
No.
Nope.
Okay. So with that, we have a motion to refer this item and go into 3 areas: Park and Recs, Advisory Committee, and Legal. Anybody, any further discussion? Seeing none, ready for the question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Madam Clerk, we have a second item.
Suspense 2 is a report from the Deputy City Manager requesting authorization for the city manager to enter into a trail and license agreement with the Friends of the Concord Lake Sunapee Rail Trail to build and maintain a multi-use rail trail on city property.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to authorize the city manager to enter into a trail and lease and license agreement with the Friends of the Concord Lake Sunapee Rail and Trail and build and maintain the multi-use trail. Any discussion? Seeing none, ready for question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is adopted. And I believe that takes us to our consent agenda, where item 20 has been removed. And actually, before you're looking that up, let me just remind everybody, there was item 8. I failed to announce this before. Item 8 was withdrawn. So just for the record, make sure everybody home realizes if they were looking at the agenda that item 8 had been withdrawn. So, Madam Clerk, item 20.
It's a consent resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase option agreement, amendment number 2 with Caleb Development Corporation concerning the sale and redevelopment of city-owned property on Canal Street in Pennacook. And it was pulled from the consent agenda by Councilor Hirschlag.
Councilor Schley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I pulled this because I continue to have concerns about this project, the same concerns that I've voiced in the past. I want to be very clear that I understand the importance and the value of workforce housing and low-income housing, but I also feel that the model that we're following with this project is a 20th century model and not a 21st century model. I think it would be more beneficial to all members of the community and those people who would be moving into a project like this if it was an economically mixed development. I also feel because of the stress that Pennacook is under because of the separate school system there, by eliminating any commercial development there, I think that only adds to taking commercial property off the tax rolls for residential only. I don't think is beneficial. In addition, that property, even though it will be paying taxes, is in a TIF district. There's an item in the upcoming out years of the CIP to add a park down there, which will further extend any new taxes being devoted to paying off those improvements to the district as opposed to coming back to the city or the school district. So for all those reasons, I have pulled this and would oppose approving this resolution, this consent item. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Krivik.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Community Development Advisory Committee sent out requests to nonprofit organizations for this block grant application to 30 different nonprofits. One responded. It was this group. And with the exception of Councilor Hirschlag, everyone else voted in favor of moving this forward. We don't ultimately make the final decision on the funding. That's by the New Hampshire CDFA. And so we fully support this moving forward. And I would make a motion that we allow to proceed.
Second. Okay, motion's made to follow the recommendations laid out by Mr. Walsh to accept the report. Public hearing on July 9th, both the resolution as well as the anti-displacement and relocation policy, and then to approve the entering the purchase and sale agreement, etc. Everybody comfortable with the motion? Everybody familiar with that? All right. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
And the ayes have it. That takes us to the end of our regular agenda. Anybody else have anything before we wrap it up? Okay, I just wanted to go over this with you, make sure everyone is comfortable. So we're meeting again on Thursday. On the 14th, we will come in at 5:30 as the Finance Committee, right? We have a work session planned. That is opportunity to talk about all the changes you'd like to make or consider or put up for a vote to see what your peers think of your suggestions. But we also, when we finish that, I'm going to ask the council to go to non-public session to talk about the manager's evaluation, so that when we come out of non-public session and we'll go into the regular city council meeting at 7 o'clock and we have the public hearing on the budget, I'd like to take up the manager's contract that night and to the up or down? You're so limited, right?
Life or
It's
death, isn't it?
Anyway, so is everybody comfortable with that? So at 5:30 we meet.
Yeah.
I think that should give us enough time to do the work session, and then have the non-public, should be very, very quick, and then be able to start our public hearing at 7 o'clock. Okay? All right. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Sure.